Hello again. Shall we go through the papers now?
Yes, let's.
Joining us is journalist and political consultant Emma Burnell and writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley. Thank you very much indeed.
Good morning.
Emma, the WASPy women, of whom I am one, but I don't fully understand what's going on.
So, basically, the government made a decision quite some time ago to raise, I think it was 1995 even, to raise the pension age eventually, and it was going to kick in, I think, 20 years later. What they didn't do was communicate that very well. So a lot of women who came up to pension age or what they thought was going to be pension age at that point actually found that they weren't yet qualifying for their pension. They had been doing all of their financial planning with the idea in mind that they were going to retire at the same age as the women in the year before this cohort, but they actually had 6 more years that they had to then work. So it was extraordinarily badly communicated because it was so far in advance. Women just didn't know.
Because initially it was thought up by John Major's government, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It was the fag end of John Major's government.
And then it was the
basically.
coalition government under David Cameron who decided to sort of speed up the process. So it was going to be incremental, but actually it was all in one go.
And they sold it as about gender equality. And there is there are arguments for it, and women do live longer. But also, they have more time out of their careers because they have babies.
Yeah.
And when you have that time off, if you're on statutory maternity leave, you're not paying anything into a pension. So they have considerably lower pension pots. So that's why that trade-off was always in place.
Why didn't they just lower the age for men? They could have saved themselves all of this trouble.
Yeah, but not...
And not a lot of them.
We could have all just retired at 60 and have been done with it.
That's the problem, is it's going to be a massive bill that's been recommended that the women should...
10.5 billion.
Yeah, I mean...
But if you split that between... Exactly, it's a very, very small amount. It's the similar thing that happened with the post office compensation. It's a huge bill for the government, but it's not enough for the people, for the recipients.
Yeah, but is it a bit, as the papers are saying this morning, is it a betrayal of WASPy women? Because
I think...
how much can you expect? I mean, I know it doesn't say £3,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money when you're looking at losing 6 years of pension.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But we haven't, you know, if that's costing us 10 billion, what is government meant to do?
Well, I mean, this is the rock and the hard place that the government finds themselves in, but they are... You know, I think they really, really thought this would go away. And I'm like, have you met a middle-aged woman?
Yeah. And it's been the campaigning by this group.
Absolutely.
Well, that's why it's
astonishingly good campaign.
But, yeah, an amazing campaign. And now they have actually been told, yes, you deserve an apology and you deserve compensation, but who's going to pay up?
Well, there's so much money. It's one of those things where you support it and you say, yeah, well, you absolutely should be entitled to it, but we can't really afford £10.5 billion. I think what'll be interesting is how this plays out politically now. Of what will the Conservatives say, what will they agree to, what will the Labour Party agree to? We're in an election year, so this could get a bit of a hot potato issue. And
let's face it, that demographic is one of those key demographics that both parties are really fighting over.
And that demographic vote.
Yeah, absolutely, they do.
And think about it as well. If one party says, yep, we'll pay it on the first day we're in office, then how many more votes does that get them?
Yeah, see how many parties something we'll put to them later.
Mind you, talking of money, the sickness benefits bill is going up by 30-odd%, Lewis, according to the Telegraph.
Yes, it is becoming a very costly morning for the taxpayer. So this is by the end of the decade, it's going up. I mean, the thing is, you look at this. I think there's a tendency with this issue to look at it and just assume, oh well, they're not really sick. You know, they're just doing it for the benefit money. And I think, well, there's going to be a percentage that is doing that, but that doesn't. It's a small percentage, and it's not going away. There are people sick. I would argue maybe you shouldn't have locked everyone in their homes for years because that has really exacerbated the problem. But what are you going to do? And it can't be, oh, well, our response will be, you know, we'll just say, well, you're well enough to type on a keyboard. We do need to look at this properly.
A lot of this is about mental health.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And now there is this argument, and it was put forward yesterday by Mel Strider, Work and Pension Secretary, saying we've reached a point where the normal anxieties of life are being diagnosed as a mental health problem, and that is an issue. And he's got a point with that, hasn't he?
I don't know, because neither me nor Mel Stride are actually clinicians. I think people who are written off work with mental health have gone through a process with doctors, so I'm not going to second-guess that process.
Well, you only have to turn up at the GP and say, I'm stressed, and you won't get a sickness.
Part of the problem is that we are not doing anything like enough preventative work, either in physical or mental health. If we were intervening much, much earlier on in people's lives and health and welfare and well-being, we would not have people reaching crisis point nearly so often.
But the issue that he's saying is not that people who are in crisis shouldn't get help. He's saying these people aren't in crisis, they're just not resilient enough. They just think any up and down in life is a sickness.
Well, I really disagree with him. I think there is I really do, because I think there's this tendency of sort of, you know, an older generation maybe looking down on a younger generation, be like, what's there to be stressed about? It's like, well, that's easy for you to say when you grew up with 4 channels and not constant news telling you the world's going to end, everything's doomed, you're a bad person.
When you could buy a house.
Like, it is hard being a young person. Your phone is constantly beeping, telling you everything. We're not creating
when these people were growing up, they really thought the world was going to end. There was a Cold War going on.
Okay,
there was a Cold War, but they own their own home.
They owned their own home. That, you know, working used to pay. You could afford your bills. I think you can talk about mental health and say, oh, well, you just need to grow up and get on with it. But actually, why not look at what's causing it?
Yeah.
What pressures are these people under? You can't just say, oh, well, they're just not resilient. Look at the world they're growing into. Look at what the technology is doing. Look at what the negative news cycle is doing to people. Look at what not having no prospects is doing to people. It is depressing.
Oh, heck. No,
so
sorry,
that's my take.
That's a bit woke. It's a bit woke. I'm all for supporting people with mental health problems, but they've got to be mental health.
But I do think, I mean, Lewis has a point in that the pressures of modern life are quite different than they were even 5 years ago, never mind 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And an awful lot of our system is not set up to support, and as I say, intervene early in order to support people through what they go through. So there are, mental health services in this country are in crisis and are completely broken. Children's mental health service in particular. Now, if we're not sorting people out before they leave school, they're never going to develop. If you want to develop resilience, fine, but let's have a proper resilience strategy that actually brings that in so that we're looking after kids and getting them to be resilient adults, and we're not doing anything like that at the moment.
No, I mean, and just telling a whole generation of people maybe that they're not resilient enough doesn't actually help them.
No, exactly.
They still feel the stress. They still feel the mental stress.
Yes, but it's about perception, isn't it? Because a lot of these, I mean, certainly youngsters who say, yeah, they're having a stressful time, or they've broken up with a boyfriend, or there's exams are coming on, or whatever, and they don't say, oh, God, life's rubbish at the minute. They go, I've got a mental health crisis. And that's about perception. They haven't got a mental health crisis. That's just what happens in life.
Yeah, but they're still panicking, and they're still...
The symptoms are still the same.
But
they still need help.
But do they? Because we went...
Yeah, because otherwise you're just turning them away, aren't you?
But we went through all of that, and you sort of know you've just got to get... Because we wouldn't have turned around and said there is well, we've got a mental health crisis. Because they say that, they're then saying, so I need help, I'm ill, I need medical assistance, I need to go to these NHS resources.
No, but I think that there is a crisis of people having mental health. So people have said, oh, we actually probably need to look at that and talk about it more. And as more people are talking about it, more people are identifying as, oh my God, that's me.
I mean, I think there is a certain amount of difference between self-identifying, I have a mental health problem, I've got whatever I've seen on my latest TikToks, ADHD, tics, whatever, and people who need real, genuine care and support. But I think that second group is much bigger than we have expected, and that is to do with a lot of the pressures that are on people, unable to see a career, unable to see owning their own home, unable to see getting to the point where all of those things that probably helped you, because you got stability in your life, ever coming to pass.
And that it's all their fault, because there's a really interesting concept, and it's called the paradox of choice. That
Which, unfortunately, we can't
You'll have to
explain.
say later.
I'll tell you later.
But thank you both very much indeed. Aidan's got you ever.